up. I'm like, I don't even know how I feel about this right now.
It's
Like I
exciting.
said, I was early, ready and waiting.
It's like it's euphoria.
It's our first one of the year, man.
I know.
And 2 more to go, and we're gonna do it live in person.
We're gonna do it
I have
live.
both my tickets. I will give you a call during the week, Ben,
All right,
and we'll figure out the details.
you got it. You got it. We are live. I don't. You've got me so shook up right now, GP. I don't even know what's going on. Like I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm hitting like I finally got the stock twits, but TA report live again, my friends. Spy. You want me to hit any other cash tag? QQQ, Bitcoin, VIX. All right. I feel like I'm missing something. We'll let it roll. That's fine. With at GP and our long lost compadre Jeff DI Nicholas is back. Nick, welcome
Happy
back.
to be home. Happy to be
Yeah,
home.
We missed you, brother.
Happy New Year, fellas.
Yes,
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
New Year. You know, we survived. You know, GP and I didn't come to blows at all, arguing over bearishness and bullishness. We did 2 lives on Fridays, but we missed you, and it's great to have you back.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be here.
Now with all that,
Nick's gonna run the show.
glad-handedness.
Yeah.
No, Nick's not going to run the show, but we're going to ask Nick a whole lot of questions about everything. We can talk about the slopes later, but Nick, how much attention have you been paying to the market since you went on hiatus?
I mean, pretty much zero. And it got, I mean, I have very like tiny positions on, so and like nothing really happened. It seems like. But how about that XLE? I mean, it's looking better and better.
I haven't even looked. I mean, after that huge green rager candle on Friday for everything, I haven't looked at much other. I definitely haven't looked at the energy. I'll tell you that.
Nope, rejected. Oh.
Yeah, it did. I didn't look as good on Friday, but I like the weekly chart. Either way, I think it's kind of making like a big old kind of cup and handle.
Well,
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
It could be.
If your thesis plays out, it's the rest of the market that participates with it.
Yeah,
right?
I would
If
imagine.
XLE
So.
goes up, everything goes up with it.
I think that's a fair take.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's a fair take.
This is not going to be XLE versus tech. It's going to be a broad-based rally, right?
It's the everything's working, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even like the spiders and the Qs, like I kind of like them on the week. Like I like the SPY on the weekly. It looks good to me. Same thing with the Qs. They both actually kind of look good to me here. But
I think the bigger concern is still oil, right? The oil weekly chart does not look like the XLE weekly chart.
oh yeah, for sure.
So with oil looking
Dumpy Dumperson.
bear flaggish and getting rejected pretty hard.
Yeah, totally.
Having it almost engulfed 3 weeks worth of action in 1 week.
Yeah.
On the fact that China opened or is easing policy, so that's an interesting move, right? On oil, but XLE is like, nope, I don't care. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, USO looks like shit.
USO looks like shit. Can I get that framed up on the wall? USO looks like shit. Nicholas.
I
so
think
profound.
one of the things that's I'll just get started. One of the things that stood out to me all week except for Friday, right? Was while the markets were doing what they were doing, gyrating, going down, getting everyone more bearish. The action that I was seeing in bonds, in high yield growth, in junk bonds, and in LQD was pretty damn impressive all week, right? Like that was LQD.
Yeah, I know. I was typo. It was bullish. God, I can't hit the D button. It was bullish.
So you have this semi reversal pattern setting up here at the COVID lows, and you had capitulation volume essentially on the inverse head, right? It's a little bit wonky.
That little highlight there by me wasn't too bad, was it?
No, not at all.
Anyway.
And the dollar, of course, is everyone was, but it, to me, I think the dollar doesn't have a great year. Personally, to me.
There's Batman.
Yeah, kind of a big old, kind of a head and shoulders ish.
Oh,
it's a distribution pattern more than anything else, right? Like, it peaked before the monthly peak from 2002, May 2002, I think. It was 115.34, and it got like within cents of that and just rejected hard, and then closed the year below that kind of support. So you typically, what you want to see here is a break of the lows from the prior month is something to see for continuation. But so far, it's two straight months of new lows on the monthly candles. And you could argue that it's a double top on a weekly pattern for the RSI, and a lot of stiff.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were teasing before we started the show that GP was bearish my bearishness, because I have been slightly bearish bags. But today I'm a little more bullish bags. How about that? See, I tricked you, GP. You thought I was going to still be full on bear, and I suckered you into believing it. No, I'm still very much wait and see camp.
But it is wait and see camp, right? Like that's what I've been saying for the last month. It's like we're every time we get below the June lows, buyers step in, right? Like it's what we've been saying. Whether that amounts to more than just playing the range as we wait for earnings, we don't know. More than earnings, expiration and the crazy in the money puts that are happening for January, but no other OPEX, that all ends in 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
Like, so we've been sideways since then. Yeah, a lot of things have broken to new lows, but the Qs are not making new lows. That means and considering what the heavyweights have done, that means there's a lot of stuff acting pretty damn well underneath the surface. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And if one were to be in the full GP camp of there is no trend and we're sideways for 6 months, 7 months now, then you have to be a believer in this positive divergence that's happened, right? Like, and you guys know I like divergences. So I think for me, right, like we're treading water, but RSI is continuing higher.
But time is not a bear's friend, right? Bears take advantage of weaknesses in moments.
I don't know if time's anybody's friend, honestly. Short term, long term, right? Everything goes higher, but in the intermediate to short term, I don't know that time is specifically anyone's friend. Anyway, but where I'm going was, as I was doing my weekly charts, like Friday saved everything for a bullish thesis, right? You powered up above all key EMAs on the daily. You powered above the 9 EMA on the weekly. And those are the steps that have to be in progress to get a turnaround. You're not going to be continually under key EMAs and all of a sudden just completely V out of it in one fell swoop, usually. So there are things building. So I like that. I also like that Barron's put, Tech's bill on their cover. The Barron's curse has been famous to be late to the party, so to speak, and put out what had just happened as the next thing, right? Whether it's the bulls of Megatech are going to just stampede everything and then everything rolls over, or oil's dead and energy goes through the roof, right? Like Barron's has been so, every time they put out a cover, it's like the opposite happens, right? They were living off of what happened previously. And I really, really like that the tech bill that they put out. I don't know if you guys saw that. I think our friend Anchors Away shared that. And I really, what did it say exactly? What was the full wordage here? Tech's bill comes due. That's this quarter's Barron's. And it's all about, as the era of free money ends, tech companies face mounting costs and falling demand. Consumers, investors, and employees are stuck paying the bill. How to invest in growth now? So it just feels behind, right? So we'll see. I would love nothing more than all of a sudden to get me really bulled up and we start a new uptrend. I'd love that. But we're still kind of in this little no man's land zone. Some good things are happening, but I'm not ready to shout the all clear signal just yet. Is that fair?
I think that's fair, but I also agree with Barron's kind of thesis is that free money is gone. And the way asset allocation has happened in the last decade is not the way it happens now. So even if the markets recover back to close to all-time highs or start a new bull trend, it does not mean all the garbage or all the stuff that has participated in the past will continue to participate in the future, right? Like, for example, Google's chart still looks like garbage, right? I don't know if Google participates on this next run, right? If Amazon looks like garbage, I don't know if Amazon participates on this next run.
Yeah, we've talked about that at length, right? Like you're looking for a new class of leadership in this new tech resurgence.
Yeah. And this was my argument and thesis back in 2020 is like, when are these tech companies ever going to have these type of earnings ever again without another 100-year pandemic and massive monetary policy to light that fire? Like, if you think about the 2000 bubble, it was the Y2K scare. That was massive money being thrown at something that potentially could have been a problem, right? So that caused that peak growth. It took another 22 years for that same cycle to repeat. Mm-hmm. And the same stuff that participated 22 years ago did not participate on this one. So yeah, I'm in the camp that we're consolidating 3 to 4 years of craziness across the board. And for us to have a next leg lower, something fundamentally has to break. And I don't see anything breaking as of now. Everyone I know is fully employed. Everyone is aware that we're in a recession, so people have already curbed their spending habits, right?
Some of us have.
Quite a few people I know, right? Everyone's talking about, that doesn't mean they're going to stop eating ramen noodles, but they're cautious about when to buy the cars or when to buy the house or whatever it is.
I'm still working on the new house or the house in Georgia. So there's things that I would love to have curbed some more spending, but I have not been able to. Anyway,
But you might take one less vacation this year to manage the higher cost of stuff.
I haven't had a vacation since I've had kids, man.
That's not a vacation, is it?
No. Anyway, Nick, how are you feeling? How do you see it? I know you haven't paid a lot of attention, but are you thinking that
again, like looking at the spiders,
we're making
like,
a bottom?
Yeah, I think we're kind of in the process of it. Whether I was kind of like scrolling my StockTwits feed, just kind of getting a feel for what certain people think that I don't know, that I kind of value their input. It's kind of a mixed bag, honestly. We're sitting there like on the weekly. It kind of looks like we're starting to put in like an inverse head and shoulders. 410 would be kind of like a trigger point to pay attention to if we kind of bottom here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sitting right on like, dude, a trend line that we started back in September 2011. So to see us kind of mess around here, I mean, it makes sense. So that we're kind of like at the high end of this. It's kind of in a, you could draw that trend line that you had the last time that at least I was on, you had drawn, just kind of like from the highs, just connecting all the highs, all the way through. Yeah. It's like, dude, like we see it, just respect the trend line. Like once it breaks, it breaks. We have kind of our line in the sand. So I do think we're starting to put in the bottom, but who knows? Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Qs. I mean, the Qs are.
I would have traded 2022 perfectly had I known.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, the Qs are sitting on same thing. The Qs are sitting right on a super long trend line too. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe we drift higher. How long can we just chop sideways?
Well, we're over 2 years now.
Yeah, I think
November, we are slightly above June?
Yeah, the
June
breakout. Yeah.
The June breakout.
The June 2020 breakout.
Yeah. So 2.5 years we've been sideways.
Because then you hit the election and that retest, and then you go.
Yeah.
So that June was like kind of the breakaway gap, and then we're coming back and retesting here. So, So to me,
well, the second retest of it, to be fair, because we did that back in October.
Yeah, that was the break underneath, and everyone's bearish thesis. I understand. I can see what they're saying. I'm not arguing any of that stuff, but that same bearish thesis was the next leg begins when the generals fall.
I mean, Tesla hit its, in my eyes, it hit its measured move. Like I don't really see, like, it very well could take out 100 and drift down to kind of like the mid 60s. Like if it really, I don't know, if it really wanted to. And kind of same thing with like Apple, right? Like Apple could drift down to hit that kind of 110 area. And I also kind of agree with you. Google and Amazon both, yeah,
don't look great.
No, thanks.
They don't look great. But the reality is, everyone's been touting for most of last year.
Your Netflix is still looking great.
It does.
I mean, it's just trending higher, like in a nice channel.
It is technically the best mega tech cap stock there. 6 months of this. This is not like a month, right? This is
yeah.
8 months.
7 months, yeah.
Of technically respecting. Okay, fine. It pretty much doesn't move until earnings, right? Like it goes sideways for 12 weeks and then breaks out on earnings. Goes sideways for 12 weeks and breaks out on earnings.
I mean, we're 10 days
sideways for not
10
10 weeks.
Yeah.
And we have a potential. I'm glad you drew a ascending triangle versus a rising wedge, right? Because I see it as an ascending triangle. We are holding the COVID 2020 lows quite often on any of these pullbacks. it's still behaving literally the best.
I mean, if anything, I would draw it like that.
Yeah. And this has been the thesis for quite some time now, is if this is trending higher, then the rest of the market's gonna begrudgingly coming with it, is my viewpoint across the board. And we'll see in 8 days, 8 trading days, when they report earnings, what happens. This will be just like January 2022. Is my guess is that April is when it breaks out, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be this earnings.
All in on calls.
Huh?
All in on calls.
No, like I would still personally play call calendars, right? Like I would sell March calls and buy June calls.
0 DTE Friday call. Netflix likes the party.
Yeah, like I would play this with time, because Netflix has not been easy mover for many months now. Even though it's grinding higher, it hasn't been an easy mover. So I would definitely think about call calendars to play the longer term move here, or
I mean,
further.
It's pretty easy to see where the trouble is, right? When you get into this volume shelf here, like that,
Yeah.
that's what it's got to blast through. But it takes time to do that. It'll, as long as it stays trending higher, it's going to do that.
Well, and Netflix looks good. NVIDIA looks good to me.
Saw that on popped up on a couple screens.
I should have bought some more NVIDIA during this consolidation. I feel like I dabbled a little more.
Yeah, and it had a massive move off that. That's not typical of something like, I don't know. That's nearly what, 100% move or 75% move from the bottom for NVIDIA.
Yep, 70%.
70% move off the bottom, and then you have a 61% retracement almost to the penny.
Yep.
And it's holding and it's trying, and this is what you want to see. We've talked about this ad nauseum. The technical damage is redonkulous. This is not something that gets resolved with a V shape, right? This will take time.
Yeah, and again, what I was saying, I'm slightly bullish bags now, is you have things like this developing, right? You have, again, you guys know I like divergences. I like the RSI as an indicator. You're going higher. We don't know how low this is going to go yet, but we have a higher low, right? And this could play out, if this is true right here. It could play out higher. But we'll see. Like, again, I dabbled a little bit more in NVIDIA, and you guys know I like chips in general, and I like NVIDIA.
Look at ASML.
ASML?
Yeah. Monster move off the bottom. And
Broadcom had a great move too.
And a slight pullback. What was that? A 200-point move?
Yep, about that. From top to bottom, from bottom to top. 250-point move, 270-point move.
Yeah, and we pulled back, what, 100?
Yep. Look at it. Broadcom. Yeah. Look at that. I mean, that is, I was going through all the charts Friday night, and this is one I hadn't taken a peek at in a while. And when I see semis up as a whole, I'm like, where's the strength at? And
because it's not NVIDIA or
by golly, there's where the strength's at.
Yeah. Meta looks good. I know you don't like it, but Meta looks good. It's basing in the gap.
Yeah.
Well, right? just because I don't like something doesn't mean it can't play.
Yeah, but so that is basing above the gap, in the gap. That's not what normally happens. If we go back to Netflix, right? Netflix gap down, and what did it do? It based below that gap for 6 months or 3 months or whatever it was, yep. Right? And so you have Meta that's sitting here that's actually basing in the gap and not yep. breaking down. So that to me it's just waiting for the right catalyst to kind of.
Well, you got an RSI breakout that happened while it was basing in the gap. I mean, it's looked strong for a few weeks now.
Yeah. So they're like, there's stuff that's coming, and look, we could definitely break down. Anything can happen in the markets, but what are the tea leaves telling you, right? The tea leaves are telling you that even with Microsoft taking a massive dump last week, Apple the week before that, and Tesla that continues to dump on almost every, like you sneeze and it dumps. That weakness, which holds over 20% of the Qs, it has not made a new low, right?
No.
Like, so what is that telling you? That there's other leadership forming in the Qs that is not Tesla, Microsoft, and Apple. And the leadership has to be quite a lot because of the weight of these stocks, right? Because
that 105 I threw on Tesla wasn't a bad pitch.
yeah.
Oh,
Right, Nick, I don't know about you, but when three stocks hold 25% of the weighting in an index and the index is not making new lows while these continue to make new lows,
no, I
tells you
agree.
that the other 75% are acting pretty damn strong.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Microsoft looks bad too. Sorry, Nick.
No, I'm in total agreement.
So your thesis that when the generals die, the market dies is not playing out so far. Maybe it does next week. Maybe everything dies. Maybe. Basically, it's all maybe.
This has happened before, though, and not exactly what we're going through, but for a long time, we had maybe 2, 3 of the mega cap techs working while the rest wasn't, and it would be like they would be taking their turn of who might be working and who wasn't. And the rest of the market churned higher in late 2020, early 2021. And that was a similar thing that we experienced, right? Not that the generals were terrible, but they weren't keeping up with the way the rest of the market was going. Because once we get past that June breakout, it's a slow build. And we had that a lot from all of mega cap for that period of time, while the rest of the market did that, right? So I think you can build on the generals not always being up huge. It just takes more participation from everyone else, like you're saying.
Yeah, and that's what that's exactly my point, which is so much more has to participate to cover for the damage of the generals. That means if you're looking at the stocks that make up the Qs or the SPY, the 502 stocks that might make up the SPY, means a lot more of them are acting a ton better than the generals, right?
And now we're full circle, right? Now we're full circle because we come back to the XLE conversation. The bullish case is that everything except for a few names is going to be working, right?
Yeah, that, like, if XLE breaks out, which is still under, I think, the November lows, monthly close lows. If XLE works out like people want it to, right, that it's bullish and stuff like that, the participation, it's basically saying that oil is demand is there, that a recession is potential, might be mild, might get the soft landing. And if XLE participates, everything participates, is my view. You can't have bullish, to me, you can't have bullish oil and not bullish everything. That's just personally my view, but
No, I agree. I mean, I'm in the same camp as you. I think we're just going to start working ourselves higher.
yeah. And look, Costco faked a breakdown. Costco, the kind of the darling of retail, right?
Yeah.
Faked a breakout down, and you're on the monthly, but yeah.
I'll get there.
And held that that big trend line up.
Yeah.
And closed above it. And that was volume on Friday, right? It wasn't on like no volume. That was pretty decent volume. Is it as much as the red volume? No, but there's signs to me that this is trying to turn for the better. And like I said, if another catalyst comes out that shows that they've broken something really badly, then then we get the next leg down, because all the people who are buying here will liquidate immediately. They won't stand for a new low in the markets. And that's the other thing. The Qs for this is, if this holds, this low for the Qs hold, this will be the 4th straight month that we have not made a new low. All the bearishness, all the generals breaking down, and we have not made, even though it might be by pennies, we have not made a new low.
All right, gentlemen, question. Nick, I know you said you just had a few small things on. How are you positioned for the
I'm
next
going to
week, the
0.
next month?
I'm long.
Yeah, I'm long as well.
Yeah.
And oh, look at FTX. This is, you know, the Dow theory, right? Dow transport theory.
Oh yeah, let me pull up the transport. Just pull up DJT, please. I don't even know how long ago I charted that, but that looks like it works.
I mean, Hassle's almost up back at all-time highs.
Right. And FTX broke out into the gap from the earnings of September. All right, if you go to the daily, you can see it a bit more clearly, but if you draw that horizontal line at 184, it's breaking out into that gap.
Yeah.
This is off earnings. So there's lots of things that are looking fairly good here.
You're
And
trying
if
to
you
get
look
me
at it,
more than slightly bullish bags. I know what you're doing.
but look at the volume that's after that big capitulation volume gap down in September. Look at the bars up, look at the bars down, right? Like it's a lot more volume on the upside than there is on the downside. So there's accumulation going on here. It looks similar to the Netflix chart.
How, and crypto's up right now. Not that that means a lot, but up is better than down. Excuse me.
Hey, do you remember when we were talking about the McClellan and you asked if I ever looked at like the weekly or the monthly?
Yep.
I didn't or don't, but I have them. I put them up on one of my screens just because I'm just curious what it. I'm not basing any. I don't know, trade. I'm not basing any trades off of it, but both the weekly and the monthly are pushing. I find it strange that they're both pushing into like overbought territory.
I do see that. I think a lot of indicators are broken, to be honest, but that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Because we literally had a historical year when it comes to rates, when it comes to movements down. Love that Tesla closed down 69% for the year. It's just irony constantly with the stock. But people are still buying the car, man. Like they're still pretty sold out. They're still doing well, I think, personally. And
I love Elon.
What's that?
I love Elon.
I know you do.
What's new with this him and?
No, I don't love Elon.
No, I know.
I'm being facetious.
I know you don't like Elon. I'm just asking, did something happen in the last week or two?
No, he was actually quiet, which was nice.
Yeah, you know, ultimately, when you when Elon starts to refocus his energies outside of the crap, it's dangerous for the bears ultimately.
Yeah, they're gonna get slaughtered again.
They did all right. They just got 69% on their short. So
so how do you guys like Tesla here? Do you think like this is a spot to buy Tesla? Like,
I think it's
anybody buying Tesla right here?
I think it's worth throwing some darts at it. Yeah, I don't have any, but I'm.
Yeah, no, Nick. Last time I think you were on, we were talking about throwing a dart at that 100 level.
Yep.
And I didn't know if you had any orders in, because it dip to like on right around 100 when it.
Yeah, like 101 change.
Yeah, well, it was a post market move, I thought.
It was when they cut the China
101.81
China prices.
Yeah. 101.81.
Yeah. No,
The
I'm gonna try
irony,
and
right?
work
They
myself
they
into a little bit. Yeah.
they cut China prices and people sell because they're worried about demand, but ultimately cutting prices should increase demand. So the irony in the moves are always, and that's why it went from red to green on Friday.
So you didn't have any orders in on that, Nick, right?
No.
Are you still looking to get in at this level, or are you
Yeah,
gonna
I think
sit
so.
with us for a few days?
Yeah, I think so. I'm ready to kind of get back to my desk and back to some routine.
So you would be a buyer right here at 113.
I mean,
I'm
if
putting you
I
on the
was
spot.
looking at dollar cost average, and I honestly like I'd be positioning for like a move into the, let's just say 80s maybe.
All right.
Like I'd have a wide. I'm not selling. Let's just put it that way. Like, how about that?
At what if the 80s don't come?
If
At
I'm
what
buying
point
Tesla here, I'm not going to sell it.
if 80s never come, at what point do you chase higher?
I don't know. Draw a trend line maybe from like that 3.
You tell me what you want to do, I'll do it.
Yeah, draw a trend line from like that.
Sorry, give me just a second. Give you a little cleaner look there.
Yeah, the slope is going to be pretty steep, but I'd probably chase it maybe through the 20-day. So maybe like above like 140.
You'd start chasing around 140.
Yeah.
It's trying to build a hell of a volume profile here, where it did
Yeah, that
not.
volume is getting.
Yeah, it is.
That was heavy.
Yeah, it's very heavy. It's starting to build a volume profile here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Nick. Like 140 to 150 area.
Yeah. I mean, I would just at that point I would be using the 20-day kind of as my gauge. Like, hey, if price holds 20-day, all right, let's go.
Yep.
Yeah. And if it ever gives back over 240, it's gonna go bananas.
Yeah.
I don't hate that
Yeah,
plan.
I agree.
That's a big volume profile area. That's it. And the fact that it went from 200 straight to 100 in 6 weeks is pretty impressive on its own.
If I had to put all my money in, like, let's just say, I don't know, one basket of all the like bigger names out there, I would say Tesla's probably the number one that I would throw a lot of money at versus over like you were saying, Amazon, even Amazon, Google, whatever else. I'd throw my money at
Ooh, I
Tesla.
like this game, Nick. If you had to throw a lot of money at one thing, what would it be? I like this is going to become a regular game.
I know. I love it. All right, let's do it.
So you say Tesla.
Yeah, I think Tesla's a big one. It's going to be, I mean, it may not go, it'll probably go what? Let me think about this. But yeah, either way.
And down here, you would never be selling.
At this point, I would never sell it. No.
Yeah.
I'd be buying more.
But what I'm
Like,
asking, like if you started a position either here in the 80s or at 140, anywhere in this range, these are the areas that you wouldn't sell. At what point would you get extra heavy and lighten your load on any way up? Like, trading position.
Where would I start to lighten up?
Yeah, no, like if you went overweight the position, right? Not, or are we talking just all your money?
I mean, you mean where am I? I'd probably peel some money off at a double.
Okay.
So like if it was pushing into 200, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna peel a little bit off.
All right.
I mean, we have GP's number there, kind of 240, or the 200 days overhead there. So like, I'd probably start looking at the 200 days and some type of like, pattern building.
I mean, I think if it works its way through this 200s volume profile,
yeah,
I mean, it might faff around once it gets up here to 240s and 250s, but it's already done the majority of the work.
I mean, there's no question in my mind that Tesla doesn't make another all-time high at some point in the next, I don't know, let's just say
10
10
years.
years. Yeah,
Well,
right.
that's a good game too. See, Nick, you need to go on a 2-week vacation more often. You come back with all these ideas. One is if I had to throw a lot of money, and two, it's going to go back to its all-time high. I love both of these games.
We'll have to keep a tally of the names that we pop up.
Yeah, I'll have to get in contact with our show producer and see if he can actually work on it.
Sounds good.
And I agree with you, Nick, right? It's the question is when does it go back, not if, right?
Yeah.
That's my
Right.
thought process. And that only fundamentally changes if Elon steps down, but even if Elon steps down, I'm not crazy worried, to be honest. And because to me, he's built the foundation of what the company comes in. Now, if a good operator comes in, like, maybe a Tim Cook, you could 10x the company from there, because that's what Tim Cook did with Apple, right?
Yeah.
After Steve Jobs. So I think Tim Cook took over in 2011 or 2012. Apple was at $12.
Oh yeah. Damn.
And in the 10 years that he's been the operator of Apple, it has gone from being innovative to being completely boring and predictable, but it's also 10x. Because it is a cash machine, right? So
yeah, only 931%, something like that, give or take a few percentage points.
So everyone who was worried about Apple with Steve Jobs dying and sold missed out on a 10xer in 10 years, right? Which is not crazy. It's 10% a year, but they've also been paying dividends for many of those years.
I mean, it is crazy, actually. I mean, 10% for 10 years, like that's, you might have a few names who have, big gains, but 10% or more consecutively over 10 years, that's pretty impressive.
After already having a massive move, yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
And on people who wanted Tim Cook fired early on, right?
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah. I 100% remember that.
All right, GP, we're going to keep playing the game. If you had to throw a whole lot of money at something, is it Tesla too? Or is it Netflix?
Yeah.
It is Tesla.
To me, it's
like if you're going to dollar cost average, let's just say dollar cost average all your money into one company over the next 10 years, what is it?
Oh, the 100% it's that, right?
Yeah.
And to me, on why I thought this back in the day is they were giving a product. I think it was like 2013, 2014 when I first started investing in Tesla, is that they were giving a product that everyone didn't know they needed but wanted, right? And that was, and the problem with, if you think about it from like an iPhone perspective, the iPhone came out and then what happened? The data model started to improve, right? They started giving out free data, 1 gig, 2 gigs, 3 gigs. Do you remember how expensive data was back in 2009, 10?
Yeah, I mean, no, but yes.
Like if you had a cell phone and you were trying to use Google Maps for like more than 2 minutes, you got a $300 bill because data was that expensive, right? Yeah. I know, because I did it by accident one time. I was trying to get to an interview and I got a bill for like $250. I was like, oh crap. But the industries adapted with it, right? So they created a product that no one wanted to be a part of initially, and now everyone's racing to become a EV car producer, right? And they have a fundamental lead on everything, and there's still so much more improved. Like their build quality is still nowhere close to the build quality of like a Lucid or the BMW electric car. So if they start to improve those and their ability for pricing power, they're still ahead of the game. So at this point, like you should want lower prices in this stock, in my opinion. But
Yeah, for sure.
I guess I need to go buy some Tesla back.
no, man, you can't hate Elon and buy Tesla. That's
I
messed
totally
up.
can. I own Tesla when I still didn't like him.
The only thing that matters is where the stock is at 10 years from now.
It's a hedge against my hate.
And
I don't hate
that's based on the information we have now, Nick, right? If that changes
Yeah.
next year, then we have a conversation about it. But based on the information that I have with what their ability is, like cars, fine, but there's so much more that they can expand to that they even haven't even explored because Elon still
I-
as a operator is not great.
I still believe in Lisa. I think Lisa's going to take AMD back to all-time highs again. I would say that for me probably.
Yeah, and
There's no doubt in my mind that this will be a $160 stock again. No doubt in my mind at all.
AMD.
how about we talk about stocks that will never see their all-time highs again?
Oh, that's going to be a lengthy list there, boy. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, no kidding. I don't even know where we start.
You know what I think before we go do that? I think Netflix sees all-time highs, by the way.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're almost halfway there.
Yeah.
So like I personally think, and because this is one of those, they changed the industry, right? Like they put everyone on its head. And as long as Reed is there, I'm still a believer because he has done right by his shareholders for the better part of 20 years. He didn't step down like a little biatch like Bezos.
He wanted to go enjoy. He wanted to go yachting.
Another
No,
name
he's just the same douchebag that Gates is, just 20 years later.
Hey,
Another-
let's talk about gold.
okay.
What do you think about gold?
Before we jump in that, another name that GP has mentioned that actually looks pretty good as I'm going through names is Square Block.
Yep.
Yeah. Gold.
I own it in my wife's account actually.
Can we step back before we go to gold? Let's
Yeah.
actually talk about SME.
SME.
This is your metals ETF. And go to a monthly chart.
That don't look good.
XME, sorry, not SME, XME.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, it's like, what the hell is this? I
No,
don't see that
XME.
being.
So this is this classic kind of double bottom 10-year base and then retest. It looks very similar to FSLR here if you're looking at this,
Yeah.
but this is metals, and metals is now consolidating a base breakout, and I think metals are a good place to be over the next few years, right? This is not it's going to go tomorrow, but we've talked about this, Nick, as well, right? It relates to gold. I like gold, but I'm not going to play it till it breaks out because
For
it
sure.
can chop around forever.
For sure.
But that's a triple bottom on gold, right? So
X and
False moves create fast moves. We had Batman and pew.
I like gold. I've liked it for a while. It needs to break all-time highs. Like it's such a miserable trader. I think it might be worse than oil, and oil's not that great.
Gold. Something that I don't coming back to our what won't reach all-time highs. I'm not sure this guy's going to.
David Day Trader.
I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not
Shop.
Sure, I'm not sure Shop's going to get back up there to 176. It may. I don't know.
That valuation is going to be really hard for them to
Yeah.
regain.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of I'm picking on Shop right now, but there's a lot of names we could throw at that.
Tilray is never going back.
T-Doc. Actually, I
No.
replaced my spot and I raised myself a T-Doc.
Yep. And I don't think Snap ever goes back to all-time highs.
Snap.
$80.
Their
83,
management
34.
team is just not great.
I felt like a complete moron getting out of Snap at around 60, but then oh well. I can get it all back now for $9.
Yeah, and you'll be able to buy a little bit cheaper around 6.
Yeah, likely.
They're still liquidating. I guess that's my point in Snap. Maybe it becomes a buyout target, but other than that, I don't know how they overcome the App Store stuff.
You two got to throw something out that's never going to. You threw out Snap, GP, Nick.
I don't know, like Redfin.
Yeah.
I don't know why the only reason I hate on Redfin in my own mind, because somebody that I saw on Twitter that I just thought was just, I should have like known better in terms of like, the next time like I experience a market like this, I'll know better. But like I was seeing so many like I don't know, Twitter accounts for like long-term investors, like, how to all these like how to invest, and everybody was so concentrated, and so one of these accounts was just so bullish on Redfin, like, and I don't know, it bugged me. So
Open Door is the same issue.
Yeah, for sure.
ZIM is another one.
ZIM.
Yep.
Was that a shipper?
Yep.
Yeah.
Those rates are never coming back.
How about letter Z?
Zillow.
That's going to be hard for Zillow to get back to $200.
Speaking of lipstick on a pig, Ulta.
Ulta has just been tremendous.
Sure.
These are discretionary stocks, right? Ultimately, if you're looking at Ulta, Lulu,
Nike,
S-Bucks, these are all, to me, semi-discretionary, right? People can curb their coffee spending and stuff, right? This is
Lulu actually looks pretty good for a catch-up compared to those other ones.
Yep. But this is while the narrative remains as there's a massive recession coming our way and we are going to get the global apocalypse that we've all been dreaming of.
How's McDonald's doing? Just
Yeah,
grinding
good.
higher.
Look at CMG. Look at CMG.
Burritos be too damn expensive.
Yep. Look at Pepsi. Look at Cola, Coca-Cola, KO.
Yeah, there's Coca-Cola bottling, which I like to look at, and then KO that I like to look at.
And there's divergences that are negative on all of these, so it could be distribution, but these are holding up pretty well.
Yeah, totally.
What's Keurig Dr. Pepper? Keurig Dr. Pepper. Well, it's got a ticker, doesn't it? What is it?
Can we talk about ABBV?
AbbVie.
This, like, if you're looking on the monthly,
Oh yeah.
that is called a breakout.
That's called a hard-on.
Yes.
Oh, you guys.
So yeah, this is when I say the generals are dying. This is what I'm seeing, right? When you're not looking at the generals, Lulu and look, Target looks better now, and Walmart looks good.
Target's trying.
Yep.
Target
I
is
didn't say it
trash.
looked great. I said it looks better.
Yeah, no, I know. And I do look at Target. It's something I keep track of because Mrs. Bags, her discretionary money seems to go into Target's pocketbook.
And Walmart.
Kroger. That
Yeah.
was good.
And look, man, ultimately, China is what broke down first. Shall we talk about China? Or is that completely uninvestable for everyone?
I'm not. I have talked about why I don't like China. It doesn't mean you can't have a good trade in it, and it has been an incredible trade. Like this is a V bottom.
Yep.
This is a V bottom. This
And
is
one of the first to break down, right? Started breaking down early 2020. I mean, late 2020. Like
now
if you
that
look at
doesn't.
Baba, it all started from that anti-PO back in like November 2020.
Yeah. Well, and Jack Ma went missing for like 6 weeks. Remember?
Yeah. And this let us down. China let us down, and look what it's doing here. So, you could say first in, first out.
I'm not saying I would go buy and get long everything China right now. It's run really hot, but it's undeniable what's going on here.
Yeah. Another one never getting back to all-time highs. Palantir. Oh, that's ugly.
There's a lot of ugly.
That's ugly.
There's a lot of ugly. There's a whole lot of ugly out there.
So does Baba go back to all-time highs then? You think?
With the risk of how China behaves, I think it's going to be a big struggle to go back to all-time highs.
207 more percent.
Right? Because people are going to be quick to trigger out of China as soon as any small piece of news comes out.
Yeah.
Of any kind of resistance from the regime. So the volume in China on the monthly, that March 2022 volume is impressive. And that's
Charlie Munger.
Yeah. That's telling you that there's some power behind this. And like, if you look at that, right, like go to a monthly, Bags.
Yep.
Right. That monthly March candle, it finally broke here in what was that, October?
Yep.
Yeah, October month broke, and then what did it do the following month? It literally reversed. So you have the false move to fast move scenario.
Yep.
It basically wiped out everyone who bought that kind of March candle and said, I'm out and I'm going higher.
Yeah, if it can get up to this like 128 level, it's going back to 200.
Yep. So like China's leading us higher. If you're looking at the McLennan on the the monthly, don't bother. It's like I think, what is it? It's almost like 300.
Oh, on mine I have 168.
Yeah, which is all-time highs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same on JD, right? Like JD's, most of these China stocks look very similar. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying go get long, but there are things that are tradable. There are
all in China, is what you're saying.
No, you will never ever hear me say that.
All in China for a trade.
Just like I would never say all in on Tesla.
Yeah. Nick, I was doing I'm still working on this thesis, but it's like, this is a bit more kind of macro and maybe conspiracy, I don't know, but it looks to me like we're on the verge of the dollar potentially losing its reserve world currency status. And I don't mean like in the next 3 months or 6 months, but
in the next 10 years.
Yeah. It's starting to see like it's that final kind of blow off top in the dollar. happening here. If you're looking at the gold reserves, I think China's the #1 holding, and US is like a fifth of that. So there's some stuff that's got me worried for a bit longer term stuff, but and makes me a bit more bullish on gold as well. But there's definitely some stuff happening here that I have concerns about, not in the next couple years, but longer than that.
We'll get back to 1974.
See, GP, you were all prepared for nothing but us disagreeing today. And I think I made your new year thus far by being in somewhat agreement with you today.
I think what I always want people to be, including myself and yourself and everyone that listens or participates in the markets, is that you have your thesis, and I'm not arguing with any of that thesis, but see what's happening with stocks and prices and the action. And like I hear that we could be in potentially a bad recession, but it's kind of forecasted, right? So all these companies have already been planning for well over a year on something potentially coming, right? They've been cutting costs and curbing the way they spend, and all that stuff has been happening, laying people off, the things that they need to do so they're not forced to do it later. That it's possible, it's just possible that we are creating the base that never got created in 2020, and that the push from here is higher. It could be lower, it could be higher, but we are stuck in a sideways pattern until we get more data, until we get better news, and things start to look better. It's hard to say it's one way or the other for me, right? And based on how the generals are dying and the other stocks are participating to the upside, like we talked about on the show, is that I lean bullish because that's what a lot of the price underneath is telling me, even though the indices aren't. And it's the same conversation from early early 2021, is indices kept pushing higher and higher, but very little was participating.
Yeah. Nick, final thoughts.
All in China.
Over Tesla now?
No, I'm just kidding.
I was getting ready to kick you out of the Zoom meeting.
Just do not go all in XBI, because it's literally done nothing for like
Speaking
60
of the
I
old Zoomer here, what's Zoom doing here? Nothing. That's
Look at
what-
XBI over the last. Can you?
Regen's probably the better looking one out there right now.
Yeah, IBB definitely looks better, but XBI, look at that. Look at that weekly.
Hey, you said time is a bull's friend and not a friend to the bear. So
Yep.
all in,
Yeah.
all in Labu.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just funny, right? Like people have been arguing about how XBI is going down, next leg is coming, and it's literally done nothing for what?
The General looks like it
5
wants to
months?
roll over.
Yeah, if not longer.
It
Since
looks
last
kinda-
May.
We can call this Red Rover instead of Regeneron, I think.
Yeah, and BIB is starting to act better, which acts like garbage 99% of the time.
Yeah.
They had some good Alzheimer news too.
Interesting.
Gilead obviously had a monster
The
year.
Widowmaker.
Yeah.
Monster
Still
year.
going. Still going.
Yeah.
BM,
Look at that slight pullback to a moving average and going higher.
Just look at this son of a bitch.
BMRN is super pretty also.
Which one, Nick?
BMRN.
BMRN. BMRM?
BMRN.
Oh, RN. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
BMRN.
AMZN, not so much afterwards.
That does kind of look pretty. I'm not gonna lie.
You
Big
know the one
frying
that you were
pan
talking about
bottom.
a lot, Nick, Vertex. That one doesn't look as good as it was did
No.
before.
It's been incredibly disappointing. Basically, I mean, it's sitting on its 200-day right now. It's like it's only saving grace, but it's not really.
Moderna actually looks pretty decent. Retest.
Oh yeah,
Looks like a retest.
50-day.
Matterhorn, another one never going back to its MTTR, never going back to its all-time high.
Matterport.
Matterport, whatever.
Yeah. They're like scanning 3D, right? Is that what they are? I think.
I thought they were the metaverse. No.
Well, yes, that's scanning 3D stuff, package stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the classic case of came to the metaverse party a decade too early.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was talking to myself.
I think there's legit concern across the board, right? Like it's going to be really, if you're a company that has been banking on losing money to grow market share, you're going to have an insanely troubled time generating or raising cash in this area when you can get 4.5% to 5% in a secure, like, in secure treasuries or something like that. So the companies that are operating on losses are the ones you have to be concerned about, because the market's essentially betting that they won't be able to survive, higher for longer, because they won't be able to raise the money they need to continue to survive. You'll see this on a lot of stocks that have gotten absolutely smoked.
Yeah.
All right, my friends.
Yes.
It has been a wonderful hour plus with you, gentlemen. Thanks to the folks who tuned in. We always appreciate you. While you were gone, Nick, we made Randy honorary to the group, but he didn't show up today, so I guess we're kicking him out. So Randy, when you watch this later, you're kicked out. Just remember that. And I've got the wrong date on it's 2023 now, Bags. So let's put 2023 on the show. And that's a wrap for the first one. Happy New Year's, fellas.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, we're gonna sidebar. We're gonna break off of the live stream